Hello everybody, I'm George from Ireland and here I am outside Casa Guidi in Florence, and there's this plaque to her, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This is the house where Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote and died, as it says. Anyway, so she had the spirit of a poet and she made this golden ring uniting Italy and England, and the grateful Florence put this memorial here in 1861 shortly after her death. So there is Casa Guidi, and it's on the first floor that she lived, so here, with her husband Robert Browning, and indeed she's buried here. So unusually she was 6 years older than him, so she was born into a fairly wealthy landowning family in northeast England, one of about 10 siblings, and quite an intellectual household. So she's born, if memory serves, in 1806. And then she was stricken by a spinal condition in her teens. So she was an invalid, as they would have said in those times, and couldn't move very much, scarcely left the house, despaired of ever marrying. So her name was actually Elizabeth Barrett, and so they were a wealthy landowning family. And she later met Robert Browning, and then she got married about the age of, was it 40, which is considered very, very old. Well past it, impossible to get married at that time. She had several miscarriages, but finally she gave birth to a healthy child, and her son Robert, her son, I think it's called Robert as well, lived on to a ripe old age. So yeah, Robert Browning, whom she met, was 6 years younger than her, and he was already an established poet. So they moved here to Florence, Italy, where Percy Bysshe Shelley had lived. They were here, I think they didn't quite overlap with Fyodor Dostoevsky. He came a bit later. Robert Lowell, the American poet, the Boston Brahmin, he came a bit later. But it's a city with extraordinary artistic heritage. Obviously we've got Galleria Uffizi, and Boccaccio wrote Decameron here. Dante Alighieri, a lot of what he wrote about his Inferno and Paradiso. Some of it's set here referencing the Arno. There are plaques all around the city. So it's just really been a magnet for artists. Michelangelo lived here. Almost any Italian artist you can think of at least passed through the city, artist or scientist or whatever, Leonardo da Vinci and so on. So there's incredibly rich artistic heritage here in this capital of the region of Tuscany. So this is Piazza San Felice. It's open on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but only 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock, and I can't go in today. I don't think I'll be able to go in tomorrow either, actually. And it's owned by Eton, so and then Eton restored it, and actually Etonians are able to go and stay there. One of my schoolmates went on a tutorial trip there one holiday. I really regret not going myself, but because I've been to Italy when I was little, I did not sufficiently appreciate it. So we're on the north bank of the river Arno, which bisects the city, and well, I'll show you how you have to go in. Come here if you come into Casa Guidi, and they've tried to preserve it as a memorial to him, really, to a lesser extent Shelley, because Shelley lived in the city but not this house. There's Casa Guidi, there's the button. Okay, so then you're going to go in, and here we have a bust of the man himself. He's buried in Poets' Corner at Westminster Abbey, and that is the ultimate accolade in British poesy. Author of The Last Duchess and The Pied Piper of Hamelin and so on, which he took from that German fairy tale, probably about the Children's Crusade. O world as God has made it, all is beauty. And knowing this is love, and love is duty. What further may be sought for? So that's The Guardian Angel by Robert Browning. So he was writing very much in imitation of Shelley, who was his idol, but some people thought he didn't find his own voice, really. So then you'd go up here to the first floor. There's also like a hotel, really, Casa Botticelli, after the artist. And this bust, which I don't think is of Browning. No, it says it's Giulio Marchi, in Italian. Okay, so that's how you need to get into Casa Guidi. But unfortunately, I think I'll be able to get in myself. So I passed over Ponto Vecchio to come here, which is most extraordinary. What a really gift to the heritage of mankind it is, and narrowly avoided being demolished, blown up, really, during the Second World War. Because when Germany was retreating from here in 1944, the order came through from Der Führer that all the bridges of the Arno were to be destroyed to slow the Allied advance. But Gerhard Wolff, a very valiant German army officer, at great jeopardy to himself, he chose to disobey that order and save it for all mankind. I think we're not going to quite get there. So going towards Ponte Vecchio as an old bridge, and later was the German consul in this city for some years. So a grateful Florence erected a plaque to honor him, and just to show we mustn't be anti-German. That's bigoted. They're good and bad people on both sides in any war. And look at this, they've got a display of Russian icons here. So I mean, they've just got magnificent architecture as well. Perhaps not the most beautiful, not ugly, handsome. What do you think? Sturdy, large. So there's the De Medici family. They ruled here for centuries. They've been a wealthy merchant family. They set up the De Medici Bank because you know, the Bible said you can't lend money for interest to fellow Christians, well, to fellow Jews, but then replacement theology, Christians are the new Jews. But then the Catholic Church said, oh well, you can break that then. So the Medici started doing it and became very, very affluent. And previously another ducal family had ruled. That they got this title, the Grand Duke of Tuscany, from the Pope. They got another ducal title from the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, as in effectively the Habsburgs, who ruled, you know, Central Europe from Belgium to the northern half of Italy, supposedly protecting the Pope. And that church spire you can see in the background, that is south of the River Arno. So most of the city is south of the River Arno, the cathedral and so on. Il Duomo. And anyway, it's just so characterful. Look at all the shutters, and they need them because of the blazing sunlight. Mercifully, it's a little bit cloudy today, so it's going to be 30 degrees. I remember asking Italian pupils in the United Kingdom what they noticed was different. And one of the first things they said is that there are no balconies. I suppose that's right, because there's seldom the sort of weather for which you'd need balconies. It wouldn't be worth it. Anyway, there's an infestation of tourists. I know that's a good thing. For the first time in 2 years, we can travel virtually no restrictions. But you are required to wear a mask on the bus or train. You can get heavy fines if you don't, though I've seen many people breaking the rules. As one of my Italian pupils said years ago, in Italy we don't care about laws, we care about money. Yeah, up here there'll be a plaque for Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky, where he completed The Idiot in, I think, 1868. So you can see why so many writers and people who are in the visual arts were drawn to this fabulous city. And then it's also striking distance of a lot of other magnificent cities like Lucca, Pisa, Siena, and so on. So we're in the region of Tuscany. They've got their own Tuscan dialect as well, but obviously everybody speaks standard Italian. And quite a few tourist trinkets to buy, and there are lots of young people on art courses, American college students on junior year abroad and things like that. So English has spread a bit too much, it's a bit too easy being an English speaker. You can still practice Italian if you want, particularly with elderly people. Yeah, and this, behind this thing here, that's the plaque to Fyodor Dostoevsky. So I think we might just get to the edge of Ponte Vecchio and stop filming, because the memory's going to cut out. I need more memory. So anyway, this is Piazza Carlo Levi, named after a famous writer. And there was a British Jewish writer who lived in Viareggio, not very far away. And is that him? It was Levi or Levi, however you want to pronounce it, something. L-E-V-I, he spelt it. And he died in about 1968. He's got a plaque there by the city which wants to recognise his contribution. So lots of jewellery shops, lots of boutiques and so on, and people selling all sorts of artwork. Look at all these mosaics. But anyway, some of the city hasn't survived so well, has been rebuilt in these very unimaginative block buildings, often beige and grey, post-war, had to be put up quite cheaply. The city was bombed, even though it wasn't very industrial. It had some strategic importance because it commanded these bridges over the Arno, obviously. Because in July 1943, the Allies had landed in Sicily. Then the king, Victor Emmanuel II, had sacked Mussolini as prime minister, appointed Pietro Badoglio as prime minister. Italy declared its neutrality. A couple months later, Italy changed sides, or the Allied side, but the Germans had time to rush troops in, and there was that bitter fighting. It became a civil war for almost 2 years. Anyway, dead ahead, that is the beginning of Ponte Vecchio, where the cars are turning slightly to the right. But that's enough for the moment, and there are lots of jewellery shops there. There used to be fishmongers and butchers there in the old days. Okay, I'll switch it off now. Bye!